Welcome back. My name is Jesse Benedetti, and we are continuing our adventure through the Costanza Experiment. This is Sunday, so it marks the first full week that we've gone through this, or I've gone through this. If you've gone through it on yourself, that's great too. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a heads up how it's going so far. So everything about this Costanza Experiment is just thinking about doing the things that I thought before or tried before, thought that was right to get to a certain result, and then doing the opposite of that. If it wasn't sustainable, or if I maybe did achieve something and it just isn't sustainable, or if I just failed completely, I'm going to try both personally and professionally. And that's kind of where this whole concept of the Costanza Experiment came from. So after week one, I've been back on track because I have the personal goal of working out to get in better shape for a bodybuilding competition in the men's physique, a smaller category, all natural, of course. So I'm a little bit smaller for that. But usually at this time, I really think I have to turn on the juice and turn on the flow and then really pump everything up. And, I tell all the other people, just take your time, it's patience, trust the process. And then I think to myself, well, I'm different. I need to go harder. I'm already behind the 8 ball. I got to go faster. I got to do this. And I've got to do that. So usually by January 1st, 2nd, whatever the Monday is, I completely go clean with my eating, which I can do that. I've done it numerous times. It's not a problem, but I sometimes go overboard with it, maybe too few calories. I go overboard with cardio every single day. I mean, at the peak of it last year, I was doing 3 hours of working out. That's crazy, insane. Plus, it's not sustainable, right? We'll talk about that more in just a second. But so where I am now is I weighed in at the beginning of the week. Monday I was 193.3. I'm about 23 pounds off of where I want to be for competition purposes. Then Tuesday, I was 195 point something. Normally, it would have freaked me out. And initially it did, but I was like, going to my Zen, going to my place and realize that it's just one day. Then Wednesday, I was back down to 193. And then overall, back onto Sunday now, I've lost 1.6 pounds. Now, to me, previously, before this Costanza Experiment, I would have been a little bit pissed off because I've gone completely, I went from drinking alcohol every day, eating whatever I wanted pretty much and staying pretty much consistent with that, not going absurdly overboard, but not eating on a consistent basis of good things, whole foods, things like that. And I cut all of that out and started working out and adding a little bit more cardio, not too extreme, just a couple of times a week, to my regular fitness and resistance training as well. And I've lost 1.6 pounds. So I would think to myself, why didn't I just lose more? Why haven't I lost more? But the new Costanza me is now realizing it's just okay. I know logically in my mind, I have all the tools. I have all the knowledge. And this is where a lot of things come into play, is because it's not it's not the diet, it's not the nutrition, it's everything combined with the knowledge. So we're going to talk a little bit about today, because it's going to be about the diet portion. This is the portion, the nutrition portion is where people really get off track and don't really understand it. And they don't understand that they don't understand it because there's so much hype and so much social media that you're getting stuff from all over the place. So it's hard to know if you're going in the right direction. A lot of people talk about, I got to count my macros, I got to know this calories, but they don't even know what they're doing it for, or they're following a fad or a trend or a phase or whatever it is, and it's not sustainable. So today we're going to talk about 3 reasons of why people fail at diets. And we're going to talk about how to make this very, very important in your life to continue getting a better life and quality of life. First thing I'm going to say, it's pretty controversial. So just hold on for a second before you get all up in arms. But if you are working out, if your main purpose of working out is to lose weight, then you've already failed. Now, let me explain what I'm talking about. Working out is to improve your quality of life, improve your fitness, your health, your mobility, your flexibility, your strength. A byproduct of consistent working out is that you do develop muscles and you do develop strength and cardio, which helps you burn the calories that you need to. Along the way, marketers that are out there along the last 100 years or so plus have caught on to the theme of understanding that we get freaked out and you got to work out, you got to work out, you got to work out. You should work out for your quality of life. You should work out for your health. You should work out so that you can walk without a cane or a walker, or that when you fall down that you don't break a hip. You should work out that when you can go up a flight of stairs without breathing heavy. You should work out that you can play with your kids and you can go up and down without pulling something in your back. You should work out for a lot of reasons. But if your main reason of working out is to lose weight, you've already lost. The reason I say that is because working out is not for the purpose of losing weight. It's a helpful byproduct. Nutrition is how you lose weight. Eating good, eating healthy, and making sure that you eat the right things. Now, it's hard. It's hard. There's so many diets out there. There's so many trends. But let me tell you a reason why I'm talking so much about this, why it's so important today, because it's taken me a long time. And I'm 43 years old. And I'm just starting to really settle into this and settle into the stuff I say over and over and over again, and actually live by it a lot more, because I know it to be true. It's just in the back of my head, just like all of us, we think to ourselves, yeah, that's fine for them, but for me. But then I realize over time, it just gets harder and harder and more frustrating. And eventually it's just going to stop. If it hasn't already, for a lot of people, then it will eventually, because it's hard to sustain something like that. But let's take a couple of quick looks at something. Did you know globally, this is globally, all over the place, globally, look at all that stuff. Globally, a poor diet, just a poor diet, right? And don't think of diet, and we'll talk about this in a second, but don't think of diet as restrictions and things like that. Your nutritional plan, what you eat on a consistent basis, that's your diet. Poor diets put the world, everybody, the population at a greater risk than alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, unsafe sex, combined, all of that stuff combined, pollution, all the things that are out there. But poor diets put us at a greater risk. And the thing about it is, we have such control over this. We have such control if we just take a moment and start to learn a little bit. And we'll get into that in a second also. But all of that, that's fascinating to me. We're going to talk in a couple of seconds about marketing trends and why diet's been such a thing out there, all the influencers. But this has happened way before social media. Back in the 19th century and before, people were already starting to, hop on the insecurities of people or the ignorance of a lot of people that we don't know what we don't know. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second. But let me put that up there so you can kind of see all that stuff as we're talking through this. Now, the three reasons, we're going to talk about the first reason why diets fail typically is because we call them diets, right? We associate them with deprivation, restriction. We associate them with misery. We associate them with something that we have to do if we want to do something to lose weight. It's instead of thinking of that, and that's not the word's fault. Oh, poor little diet. That's not your fault, because it used to mean just what you ate every single day normally. But we have to just change that because we've taken on a negative connotation. So we're going to think of it as a lifestyle, a nutritional plan, a lifestyle change, things that you want to eat daily that's good for you. Now, we're not going to go into all of the stuff about this, but whole foods. You want to know what a whole food is? Look on the back of it, on the ingredients. If there's more than 2, 3, 4 ingredients, it's not good. If it's something that can be on the shelves for years and years, if you've gone into a Walmart or a Target and you've seen the cookies and you're pretty much sure those are the same Valentine's Day cookies from last year, then that's probably not the best for you. If it can't be grown, it's not a whole food, right? So we want to make sure that we try to stay away from that. The processed sugars, the processed everything that's out there, becoming a little bit more knowledgeable. But a lot of people don't want to be knowledgeable, because if you know something, you're going to feel more guilty about it. Plus, it's hard to learn. Learning's hard. And it's okay. We're not going to do that. I'm going to help you out. So we want to make sure that when you call something a diet, you put a negative connotation on already. You associate it negatively with something. All throughout our years, I've had eating problems throughout my whole childhood. When I was a young kid, I was 8 years old. We had in recreational football, we had to weigh in to make sure that the kids were proportionally right with the other kids out there. So you couldn't have a kid that was 150 pounds against kids that are 90 pounds, right? So I always had to strip down to my underwear, stand on the scale. And it wasn't muscle, right? I got teased in grade school. I was called a Jello mold, and I was called husky. Well, it wasn't called husky. That was the size of the clothes I wore. I was a chubby kid. Now, I wasn't obese, but I sure as hell wasn't healthy, and that's okay. but I took it upon myself one summer, and I was gonna run and get all that weight off, and I did, and I've gone back and forth, back and forth. I've gone all the way up to 100, 220 pounds, 50 pounds over what I am currently, right? So what I've ever been before, that's the heaviest I was ever back a few years ago, about 20 years ago or so. But I've gone through, what did I do when I was 8 years old and I was being called all these names and I was doing all this stuff at 9, 10, 11 years old? I would go outside in the middle of summer with a plastic bag on and a built-in sauna suit before they even really had sauna suits. I would put a sweatshirt, another sweatshirt, a couple of sweatpants, because I didn't know anything. And I would starve myself. I guess it was a version of anorexia. I was over exercising and under eating, and that was bad. So I've gone through this throughout my life. I've battled it throughout my life because I've had that. So when diet to me, I think back to then when I only had Jell-O for a whole day, or only had one peanut butter sandwich and felt guilty about it. And that's a little 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. We all go through this. So I want you to understand, we gotta reassociate it with something different. So you reassociate it with living better, feeling better, right? I mean, there's nobody out there that feels better if they've overeaten the night before or the day before, or they've splurged on something and they have that food coma and that food hangover. There's nobody that feels better the next day if they've had too much alcohol. When you overindulge in bad things, you just don't feel better, right? So that's number one reason why people fail, is because we think of them as a diet. So we think of them that we have to restrict them, we have to do this, we have to do that. Second reason is that we do it for the wrong reasons. Like I said before, if your number one reason is to lose weight, for working out, you're doing it wrong. If your number one reason for dieting is to get into that bikini, or if the number one reason is to get ready for that wedding, if the number one reason is for anything aesthetic, how about that? You want to feel good, right? So when you're doing this stuff, are your clothes fitting better? Are you feeling more energetic? Are you waking up with more energy? Are you able to play with your kids longer? The things that you should be really looking at as you're going through all of these things, that's what the reasons should be. I want a better quality of life. I want to be able to put my pants on and not have to go up a size in 3 months. I want to make sure that I can put my pants on and not have to, really suck my gut in, or lay down on the bed to make sure, and then have my significant other come over and button my pants. I want to be able to go upstairs without having to breathe heavy. I want to be able to do stuff like that. But what happens is we settle into some part of our life and we think that's normal, because that's the majority. 75% of this country, 70% or more, is overweight and or obese. And that's not good, right? So that's how it looks like. Well, everybody else is like that. That's how everybody else. No, that's not a good thing. We don't want to follow that trend. So that's the number two reason why people fail, because they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Number three, we wonder when we can go back to eating normally. That's the problem. If you think eating healthy is not eating normally, then we've already set yourself up for failure, right? If that goes back to that whole restriction thing. Nobody wants to do something where they have to feel like they're being restricted, or they have to feel like they can't do stuff all the time. Typically, when I tell my clients, you have to eat like this for a certain period of time, it's not forever, but you have to understand how to eat first, right? It's not, a lot of people say, oh, I can't lose that weight, I eat clean. Well, do you really eat clean? Do you really count the calories? Do you do a lot of stuff? And I'm not saying you have to do this forever. That you have to do it so you can understand what it feels like, so your body can get adapted to it. Because this is what the problem is if you start under eating and overworking out, or just under eating in general, and you start losing weight that way, then that weight's going to come back quicker, and it's going to come back more, and you're going to get discouraged, and you're going to get frustrated beyond belief. Because what happens is your body adapts to less food, because it thinks it's going into starvation, or that your body's not going to be able to eat like it was before. So it starts holding out for a second, and it just hold on for that, and then it gets adapted to that, and then it takes less food to get the same result. Then it takes less food to get the same result, and then all of a sudden it's going under 1,000 calories, and you're certainly not healthy. So you have to understand, by doing poor diets, by doing bad, all these different trends and fads that are out there, all we're doing is we're just stabbing ourselves. Because we're looking for a short-term gain instead of realizing that we're doing this for a long-term health benefits, quality of life, all of those things. So what do we want to understand? We understand how to eat, what to eat. That's a whole nother conversation by itself. That's a whole different conversation by itself as you're going through all of these things. You have to understand that your body, it adapts to everything, no matter what. Just like in any place in life, if you've ever had drinking in your life, or if you've ever had alcoholism, I've had an alcoholic dad growing up, right? So in that alcoholism, if he stayed sober for a month or 2 months or even up to a year at one point, then it only took maybe 3-4 beers at the most to get a buzz, a 6-pack to really get hammered. But if it stayed consistent, then it took 7, 8, then it took 12, 11. Then it took a pint of whiskey. Then it just keeps on escalating. And our body adapts the same way, negatively or our bodies don't understand. They just know that it's adapting to whatever the situation is. They think this is the new norm. So what do? We do these diets where we go on these diets, we restrict ourselves, and we do this, and our bodies adapt. We don't see the results. We do it hardcore more. And then all of a sudden we come off of this. And what happens when we come off of these diets is that all of a sudden we gain all the way back and we gain more, because our body is all of a sudden it feels like this is our time to eat. So we've got to make sure that we pack it all on, because we don't know when we're going to go into hibernation again. We're going to have to feed off all those fat cells. So instead of doing it for the wrong reasons, you have to make sure when you're doing all of these things that you're doing them for the right reasons, or it will fail. Same thing with fitness, the same thing with nutrition. You have to understand what it is, and you have to get to a point where you understand. A lot of people, they think, I know how to eat. I need to eat more of this and less of this. I promise you, I almost guarantee you have no idea. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant or rude. It's just a fact. We all think that we know what we need, and we don't. We read something on Instagram, or we read something on Facebook, or we listen to this influencer, or we listen to that influencer, or read this book, or we read that book, and we go crazy. But you know what they're all out there for? They're all out there just to make you buy their product. That's all. I want you to stay healthy. I want you to stay fit. I want you to help. There's been so many diets over. Did you know back in the 1920s, they had the idea that Lucky Strike cigarettes, I mean, that was their brand, that was their promotion. Lucky Strike cigarettes, smoke these and you'll help you lose weight. Yes, they do give you appetite suppression, but they also give you lung cancer and heart disease and everything else that can really come out with it. So, and it goes through grapefruit diet, banana and skim milk diet, cabbage diet, Weight Watchers, Atkins diet, the wine and egg diet, Slim Fast, the sugar diet, the cookie diet, the Sleeping Beauty diet, the Jenny Craig. It just goes on and on and on. We go have these cleanses, and we have these detoxes, and we have all of this stuff, and we don't realize that our bodies are made to detoxify themselves if you just eat right? You don't need to have a juice cleanse to do that. If you want to because you like it, great. I don't care. It's fine. Do whatever you feel like doing. That's okay. But I just want you to understand what's happening, right? If you stay inconsistent with something, you're never going to know what variables to pull from. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past, or will work with in the future, well, I'm eating this and I'm eating this and I'm eating this. So what should I change? I don't know, because are you eating it consistently? Are you eating the same amounts? Why do I put my clients, or clients that I send to my partner Lisa, why do I put all of that stuff when we're going through stuff? Why do we talk about trying to make sure that we understand our macros, making sure that we count some calories, and we help you with all that? Because it gives you an idea of what is good, right? So if you're eating good all the time, and if you're eating, and I'm not saying eat good because it's, you need to do it. I'm saying you should do this because you want to feel good. You want to be healthy. I could go on and on for this, but nobody should put poison in their body. You shouldn't want to put poison in your body. It's so just like I talked about before. What did I say? Bad eating is worse than all of this stuff combined. All of it. Are you kidding me? All right. So as you go through stuff, you have the same people that are out there that say, well, I just want to live my life. I just want to enjoy my life. I promise you, if you feel good and you can work around and move around and you don't have excess weight on you, you will enjoy your life more. There's a bigger problem that you need to think about and really, really self-assess food and alcohol and drugs, if those things are giving you a way of having a happier life, there might be other things that are underlying issues that you might want to work on. I know it is for me. I know it is. And that's what I've had to work on. And I continue to work on those things. But I'm just telling you right now, you got to go through all of this stuff and you got to really reassess it. Sit down with yourself, be honest with yourself. Are you doing the things that you should be doing for the reasons that you should be doing it? Right? I love ice cream. I love pizza. I love hamburgers. I love all of these things. And I eat tacos and I have all types of stuff out there and they're so fun. Right? But you know why they're so enjoyable to me? Because I don't have them often. And I'm not saying that I have to wait 6 months to have them, but I don't feel guilty if I go to an event every once in a while and I splurge on an alcoholic drink or this food and that food. It's not the norm, right? It's not the norm. And you've got to stay accountable to it. You got to be accessible. It's got to be accessible to you. You got to make it accessible. You got to make it something. You know how the best way to do it? Just do it. Right? No excuses, just do it. We all have excuses. We all have something that we're going through. We have, kids and a job or whatever the reasons are that are current to you right now. I just want you to understand that you have more control over your health and your fitness if you decide to take it. If you want my help, reach out to me or just get some education. But I'm also going to be sending more of these videos out, more emails out, all that kind of good stuff. But this is just my tip of the day of why diets fail. Top 3 reasons. We'll recap them again. You call them a diet. Call them something else. Call them something you associate it good with. Call them your best life ever eating plan. Whatever you want to call it, whatever it is for you, right? So, or call it your Costanza eating nutritional plan, right? The opposite of whatever you've done that has not worked, all right? We do it in the wrong reasons. We do it to fit into clothes. We do it for a special event. We do it for anything but us. We are the right reasons. We are the number 1 priority. You are the number 1 priority. And the third reason is that we think that we're going to go back to normal. If that's still your mindset, when can I go back to normal? That stuff that you eat that's put you in such a bad, risky, that's more risky than drugs and alcohol and unprotected sex and all of these things combined. If that's normal, then you need to make sure that that's not normal in your head, right? So just keep that in mind. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks for joining me again for another episode of the Costanza Experiment. I'll see you again. Peace out.